lady who has just joined us. Not just joined us, my bad. She's been here before lunch, but now it's time that we invite her on the dais. Let me introduce ma'am first, then it will be an opportunity for all of us to hear from her. So ladies and gentlemen, it is our immense privilege that we have this esteemed personality present between here with us, our chief guest, Her Excellency Ambassador Sangeeta Bahadur, a distinguished officer of the Indian Foreign Service. Ambassador Bahadur dedicated over 35 years to representing India across the globe, serving in the countries including Spain, Belgium, the United Kingdom, Belarus, and as the High Commissioner of India to the Republic of Malta. Beyond diplomacy, she is an acclaimed author, strategic advisor, mentor, and inspiring public speaker. Her contributions to international relations, cultural diplomacy, education, and social causes have earned her widespread recognition and admiration. Today, we are truly honored to have such an accomplished personality grace the Indian Icon Awards and Education Icon Awards 2026. Her remarkable journey of leadership, service, and excellence continues to inspire people across the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a warm and heartfelt welcome to Her Excellency Ambassador Sangeeta Bahadur. Please put your hands together, everybody.
Good afternoon, everyone. And after an introduction like that, I'm so afraid whatever I'm going to say is going to fall flat, right? But let's hope not. I'm usually pretty good at this. So, first of all, let me thank Adreneur, and I do hope one of you will let me know exactly how it is pronounced, because I'm still not sure. Is it a French word? Adreneur, is that how it's pronounced? If it's in Spanish, then it's pronounced differently. In English, it's pronounced differently. But if any of you know how it is pronounced, do let me know. But anyway, I just wanted to thank them, and to especially Shubhaji, who's sitting right here, who reached out to me and she said, would you like to be there for this award ceremony? And I said, yeah, why not? Although I have to cross 3 states to be here since I live in Noida. But anyway, so I have been asked to give a little bit of perspective on how India's role has been changing on the global stage. Now, I serve the government as a foreign service officer, or rather I serve my country, that's what I prefer to say, as a foreign service officer for a good 35 years. And over this period, I witness a real change, not just in India's image as it is perceived by people around the world, but related to that, how India is now being treated and how it was treated 35 years ago when I was still a very young officer, who had just joined the service. And of course, I'm not dead yet, despite the fact that I retired about 4 years ago. So I continue to observe the changes that have been going on the global stage, as far as India is concerned, as far as our interactions with the global polity, geopolitical strategy, with everything that goes around economy, everything has been altering and changing. So just to give you a little concrete example of how things were when I joined service as a very young officer, and I was, my first posting was to Spain, because, in the foreign service we have this custom, or rather the rule, when you join the service, each of you is allocated a particular language, which is called our compulsory foreign language. So mine was Spanish, and you are then sent to the country where that language is spoken, and that is where you learn the language. And then, till you pass an exam, which is a pretty tough exam, in that language, you're not really confirmed in service. So I went to Spain, and I must tell you, it was an amazing experience, not only because it was my first time out of India. In those days, foreign travel was not as common as it is now. So for us, it was a very, very exciting thing, going abroad. And I was, in fact, just sharing this little story with somebody who's sitting right here and who's an awardee herself. She'll come and meet you later. I was telling her about this, senior colleague of mine who's just about maybe 7-8 years senior to me. And I'll not name names but anyway, not that it's a harmful thing, but it's just a funny story. So just before, as soon as our posting orders came, our language allocations came, so we were a batch of 12 people, out of which there were only 2 girls. There was me and my batchmate. So both of us decided, let's go around asking people what to expect the first time you step out of India, what to do, how to prepare, etc., etc. So we thought, okay, the best thing would be to go and speak to the lady officers in the ministry. They would be able to, give more guidance that is more pertinent to us. So we asked many people, and they all said the usual things: do this, buy this, prepare like this, you must buy outfits like this, etc., the usual stuff, and what to expect when you land up there. But this particular colleague, when we asked her, she said, I'm sure you met other women also in the service, and they've told you all the practical stuff, but let me give you one advice that nobody else would have. And we are like, what? And she says, before you step out of the country, get married. And we're like, what? Why is it important for us to get married? And very coolly she says, new country, new city, new airport, you'll need someone to carry your baggage. So, that's the reason. And we are like, and till date, I'm not sure whether she was serious about it or she was just pulling our leg. But anyway, so I did not get married, did not take her advice, at least not at that stage. Landed up in Spain, and it was an absolutely amazing experience. It's a beautiful country. The people are just incredibly friendly, very approachable. And because of that, we learned the language like this, because nobody spoke English in Spain at that time. But what I did notice was how little people knew about India at that point of time. Okay, we were a geographical entity. People, knew that there was this country called India, which is somewhere in Asia, that kind of a thing. But overall, the information level about India was like here. And how we realized that was, I still very distinctly remember, once, a group of us, there were 3 or 4 of us, as we were called probationers at that time. So one batch up, one batch down, that kind of thing. So we all decided to, just go out for a day's trip around the country. And we stopped at a petrol station to fill up the tank of whoever's car it was. I don't even remember. And this guy was like, looking at us in a very peculiar way while he was filling the petrol. And he said, I can make out you guys are not Spaniards, but you speak Spanish. So we were like, yeah. So he said, okay, then where are you from? And we said, I was talking to him, so I said, oh, we are Indians. And he looked enlightened, and he said, so you are the people who wear feathers in your hair and dance around bonfires? And we were like, no, those are like red Indians or whatever you want to call them. Now nobody calls them red Indians either. So that was the level of ignorance about this country. Because quite frankly, despite the fact that we were, even then, probably the second largest country in the world in terms of population, we had achieved a lot from the time when the British left us completely impoverished, desolate, with absolutely no resources to speak of, only the land and the people. We had come a long way. But we had been taking so long, each little step was just, okay, half a step forward, 2 steps back, then 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That is how we had been going. And people were just, okay, fine. So if you are from India, but what have you done with yourselves? So we were seen as this, this country who always liked to throw its moral authority, its ethical weight around and try to shame other people into behaving in a particular moralistic, ethical way. But apart from that, nobody thought of us in any other context. To the extent that even the well-informed Spaniards, and I'm talking about the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, the only thing they knew about India was, as they said, Taj Mahal, because J in Spanish is pronounced as H. So Taj Mahal, Rajiv Gandhi, and of course Mahatma Gandhi. But apart from that, nothing else was known about this country. And then I'm talking about my later days as ambassador, as High Commissioner. And of course, the level also makes a difference, but still, people were just dying to talk to you and to ask you about things and whether India would be able to help us out in this manner or in that manner. People were full of admiration about how much we had achieved despite all the negative issues that we have been tackling for, like literally ever since our independence. And they said, and everyone was like, what are you doing? How come suddenly all that languishing for good 60 years has now been cast aside, and suddenly you are like racing towards your potential? And it was, I wanted a meeting with the president of that country or the prime minister of that country. I'd get it like this: come this evening, come tomorrow morning. Earlier, you'd have to wait in line, just wondering when you'd be called, whether it would be next week or next month, and sometimes the meetings won't come through at all. So I have seen the kind of global engagement that we have managed to develop in the last 10 to 15 years, and the kind of response that we are beginning to get from people around the world, how their perception of India has changed. Even earlier, all said and done, India was still a very old civilization. People knew about that. They knew about our culture. There would still be a lot of people who would love to, to learn Indian dance, music. They would read the literature. There were departments, and particularly in the East European countries, because of Russia's influence, there were actual departments on Indology dedicated to India and our history and our society and our politics and everything. Most of it was, well, I wouldn't say wrong, but pretty sort of mixed. But still, the awareness was there. And now, suddenly they realize that we've come out of, that cocoon that we had willingly been wearing. And from, from an insect, we've now evolved into a butterfly, and we are flying high. And that makes all the difference. So I would say that the economic progress that we've been making, the kind of, the work that our industry has been doing, our business houses have been doing, the kind of interactions we are developing, the kind of collaborations that we are getting into now around the world, and also because we are now more and more capable. Now we are not confined only to, say, the normal industry garments, for example, or textiles, or all our traditional stuff that we used to do. But now we are into defense. We are becoming one of the major defense exporters around the world. We are into like serious, large-scale, heavy industries. We are into space research. We are into, we are just achieving one thing after another, and the world is noticing. It is admiring. It's appreciating. And the way many of you would be traveling, I guess, quite frequently, perhaps abroad. And if you've been in the business for at least, maybe a couple of decades, you will probably now realize the kind of treatment you get now at various airports as compared to what you used to get earlier. Of course, I'm not saying there are no exceptions. In fact, Shubhaji has told me to share this story with you because, there are exceptions to every rule. And this happened sometime back in 2019, I think, from what I remember. I was ambassador to Belarus at that time. And I was coming back to India to attend, like every year we have this conference of all our heads of mission who are called back from everywhere, wherever they are posted, to India. And there are 3 days of discussions, etc. And, talking of strategies and how we are going to, present ourselves to the world in the next 1 year. So I was coming for that, happened to miss my connecting flight, and therefore they put me in Istanbul, they put me on a flight. I was coming to Bombay. They said there's no other flight available today, and I had to be there the next day. And they said the only flight available is the Iranian Airways. And I was like, okay, if that's the only one. Of course, I had no clue when I started from Belarus that I'd be passing through Iran. But I took the flight and they said it's just a 1 hour gap. You'll just get off there, clear your transit formalities, and then you catch the flight and you come and you go. So there I was, and I got off and at the international airport in Tehran. And there were these 2 young guys who were at the transit desk, very helpful, very kind. They, just ran around and got everything done for me. And then one of them said, "We are going to, accompany you to the departure gate," because it was just on the floor above, barely, I would say, not even 200 meters from where the transit desk was. But when we started walking, there was this staircase that went up. And on both sides of that staircase were all these guys wearing those caps and those clerical kind of stuff. And the moment they saw me, they started literally screaming, shouting, abusing me, calling me a whore, calling me a loose woman, calling me a terrible person. I don't know. And they spoke in English so that I could understand what they were saying. And then they started actually pushing me, pinching me, doing all kinds of things. And I'm like, what the hell is happening, Then it turns out this was all because I was not wearing a hijab. That too, when I had no clue when I started from Belarus that I'd be going via Iran. And this is the international airport we are talking about. And the same thing, somehow this poor guy got me pushed and pulled and got me, to the next floor. At the security check where there were women, they were even worse. In fact, my passport was confiscated. I kept saying, I'm India's ambassador to a neighboring country. What are you doing? Do you want a diplomatic incident? They couldn't care less. They said, you're not wearing a hijab. Until you get one, you're not getting out of here. You may miss your flight for all weekend. I was literally in tears of rage. So, but this one of those guys, he was feeling very bad about the whole thing. He went and bought me, a scarf, and he said, just put this on, ma'am, and get out. Don't ever come back. This is not a country for women. So when there are people here who are screaming about how, oh my God, what is Israel doing to Iran, and why isn't India speaking up, etc., every time anybody says that, I remember that one horrible, horrible hour at the Tehran airport. But as I said, these are exceptions. They don't always, apart from that, it's all hunky-dory for all of us. And, like an Indian passport today holds a lot of value, as many of you would agree. Education, again, I came halfway through this discussion that they were having. And I must say that in this day and age, with India trying to spread its wings, really fly, education and collaboration in education becomes something very, very important. So we have to pursue that. We have been pursuing that. So not only our universities, our colleges, etc., high institutes of higher education, not only are they tying up with universities abroad to get more exposure for their students. And I was posted in London, and I've seen how much we are doing with universities like the King's University, Edinburgh University, etc., etc. So, and a lot of our students are there. We also offer, I don't know how many of you are aware, but we also offer a lot of scholarships to foreign students who want to come and study in India. So I was with the Indian Council for Cultural Relations on deputation for about 3 years, and I was shocked to see that just the ICCR alone offers 5,000 scholarships. And a lot of people take advantage of that. Many of them come to learn the fine arts, but many also come to study anything, any subject and all, and they usually go back very happy. So this trend needs to continue, needs to be expanded, because especially for our students who are trying to prepare themselves for life in the coming decades, it is very important, this kind of exposure. But at the same time, not many of them can actually afford to live abroad and study there, because that's still very, very expensive, as most of you would know. 10 years ago, my own daughter, I was posted in London, I called her there to finish her post-graduation, and for a 1-year course, we ended up paying £18,000 That's a lot of money. Most people will not be able to afford it. Of course, you got a scholarship, that's a different thing. But even so, we ended up paying half of it. So it is important that we open campuses here with these other universities. One thing that I have always wondered is why we have not invested in developing a teaching staff of our own, because there are so many new institutions coming up, but many of them, especially the business ones, like the Indian School of Business, where we did a compulsory course there and all that, they all say that they have to import their professors and their speakers from outside because there are just not enough people here, which is so surprising. In a population of 1.4 billion, you don't have enough people to teach your own students? You don't have that kind of quality? I mean, what are we talking about? So why have we not invested in that is beyond me, and that is something that really, really needs to be corrected. Now, at the same time, I would like to add one specific thing which again bothers me a little bit, is that, everybody is now emphasizing on studies related to a career, like don't get your usual degrees, etc. BA, MA, it doesn't make any sense. Do get a professional degree, study, which is all very well. But the thing is that because of this complete change in focus, what I find is that the ethical and the moral perspective of all the students who are coming up is virtually dying. I remember, like, I'm one of those convent-educated kids, brats, as we used to be called. But I remember that every one of us, all the way from first to 10th or 12th or whatever you did in school, we all had moral science classes where we were very actively, through stories, through examples, we were taught what is right, what is wrong, what you should do, what you should not do, which is, like something that will help the society or detract from it, etc. And suddenly now I find that very few of our kids are being exposed to that kind of education, whether it is in school or at higher levels, and including, I think, for professional, courses. So it is very important, I feel, that that is also something that we ought to inculcate in our students, where we ought to tell them that, like being good at your profession is one thing, but being ethical about it is something else altogether. A lot of you who are here present today, and many of you would be getting awards, are women. And I feel that that's a great thing that's happening in the country. A lot of women are opening their own enterprises, they're doing their own business, they're developing their own labels, their own brands, etc. And that is something that Adreneur is also involved in. But there are still issues, I think, with women never really being very sure how to develop their own style of leadership. Many of us in my generation for sure, in the generation before me for sure, and I think even today, a lot of women seem to feel that to be impactful, to be effective in a business setting or anywhere, in government or whatever. I don't know really very much about business, but in government, that's what I've noticed, that to be taken seriously, they have to be twice or thrice as tough as a man. So as a result, you end up being a total, well, let me not use the B word, witch, okay? You all know what I mean. And as a result, even for me, I remember as a younger officer, when I would just, whenever we were being, considered for a posting or whatever, you check, do we have a female ambassador there? Or is the head of division female? No, I don't want to work there. Because they were just so anxious, so tense all the time, forever trying to prove how they were better than 10 times better than their male colleagues. And probably a lot of it still is the same. So I would say that, all these women who are joining, who are starting their own businesses, who are in high positions in their professions, in government, whatever it might be, let yourself be a woman. And just because you're a woman, you're not weak. We have all, lived through full-fledged professional lives. We've all done our stuff. And for me, I've always felt that just being myself, just being a woman who has empathy, who has compassion, who looks at people as human beings rather than machines, it has always paid me great dividends. So everybody who's worked with me through all these 35 years, given another chance, they would jump at working with me again, which is not the case with a lot of women who try to model themselves on the male perspective. Okay, if this guy can scream twice a day, I shall scream 10 times a day. You can, but that is not the way to either inspire loyalty or any kind of dedication or even efficiency. Because I find that people usually respond much better to the other person, your boss, just being nice to you, just being kind to you. Of course, I'm not saying don't ever scream. There are occasions when even I do. I'm not a screaming kind of person, but I've had to, because that is a particular point in an event that is going on where if you don't scream, things are just going to fall apart. So do it then, but don't make it a habit. So keep your femininity, keep your, the softness of your personality, and work with that and work around these problems that men deal with like a bulldozer. Don't be a bulldozer. Although I admire Yogi Adityanath a lot, but still, that's him, not you. So given all this, I would say that I'm very happy to be here today. I'm very happy to be talking to an audience who would be dealing with all these issues in a very practical sense, and who would probably, I hope, have, at least I have given you a couple of points to think about, and I hope that you will actually think about it and go ahead and, make a fine life for yourself, do great things for your business, and be an asset to your country. For me, it's always India first, before Modi ji and after, because, for me, one of the most proud things that I did in my life was to represent my country as a diplomat. And I'm so glad I could do that. I'm so glad that even after retirement, I continue to do that, because that is one thing I have never compromised with, and I never will. And I hope all of you have the same spirit of dedication, of love for your country, of nationalism. Go ahead, prove it to yourself, prove it to your family, your business, your country. That's all I wanted to say.